Hello, welcome to Satellite Showtime. I'm Pat Olson. This program is brought to you by our fine corporate sponsors, including Luxor North America and Calltronics Incorporated. As you can see from what's behind me, we are not in our studio this evening. No, we are reporting from Nashville, Tennessee, the site of last week's Space STTI show. It's the largest satellite industry trade show to date, and the largest trade show ever to be held in the city of Nashville, with attendance around 15,000. And here is a familiar voice that could be heard at the Nashville show.
Howdy! Well, are y'all enjoying Music City, USA?
That voice, of course, belonging to no one other than Minnie Pearl, a 45-year veteran of the Grand Ole Opry. Minnie's appearance was sponsored by Luxor North America Monday night, as was a performance by country musicians. So we thank Luxor North America for Minnie and the musicians' appearance. That gives you a little flavor of the city of Nashville, but there was also plenty of satellite business carried on at the show. Right after these messages from our fine sponsors, a reputable home satellite magazine editor will take you on a tour of the trade show. Stay tuned.
Luxor, space-age technology at an affordable price. Satellite receivers, antenna actuators, remote controls, and auxiliary sensors, all by Luxor. Here's a totally integrated satellite television reception system. The Luxor 9550 remote controlled satellite receiver. 24 channels, selected, fine-tuned, programmed for automatic recall. 4 different audio systems, built-in RF modulator, automatic polarization, 2-speed scan, video inversion control, AFC defeat, and Dolby noise reduction, and more. The Luxor 9534 antenna actuator, automatic satellite selection by remote control, all at the touch of a button, remarkable ease and accuracy. And the Luxor Mark II, a high-performance block satellite television receiver system, several sets, each having their own independent channel selection at the same time from a single antenna. That's the Mark II. Just a few of the high-performance, technically advanced satellite products from Luxor.
Welcome to the world of satellite TV opportunities, the marketing techniques magazine for satellite television that reviews the latest technology and introduces you to people you should know.
Satellite TV Opportunities is the marketing techniques magazine for satellite TV dealers. Our single purpose is to help dealers increase their sales and their profits through improved marketing techniques.
Call today for your subscription to success, 1-800-922-2812, Satellite TV Opportunities Magazine.
Satellite TV Preview is the best thing next to your satellite dish. With all those programs now at your fingertips, you won't want to miss a thing. Satellite Preview lists over 100 transponders in an easy-to-read weekly grid schedule. It has a daily list of movies, specials, and sports, plus a list of sports by event. Call and subscribe now for only $47 for 52 issues and save $31 off the newsstand price. Or call for a free sample copy. Dealers, we also have a special offer for you. Call 800-826-0735. Visa and MasterCard accepted. Satellite TV Preview, the best thing next to television.
Welcome back to Satellite Showtime. Chris Schultheis is editor of STV, OnSat, and Satellite Retailer magazines. Mike Gustafson is West Coast editor for STV and Satellite Retailer. Tonight on Satellite Showtime, they are going to give you a sampling of the vast number of booths, the exhibits at the Nashville show, which number in the hundreds. Take it away, Chris and Mike.
This is Chris Schultheis, and I'm with Mike Gustafson. And it's our pleasure to take you on a guided tour of the Nashville 85 show. Mike, the first satellite industry show was in 1979 in Oklahoma City. Right. There were 8 exhibitors and 550 attendees. This show, there are 350 some exhibitors, 750 booths, and 15,000 plus attendees. Have we come a long way?
Yeah, 6 years later. Figured out 6 years. The 1980 show in San Jose had just a bit more than the Tulsa or the show first held in Oklahoma, and it was around a swimming pool. In fact, all the antennas were stationed right around the swimming pool, and we had no more than maybe 12 antennas at that particular show, and that was the first show that I attended. So certainly this particular show at Nashville represents, I think, the culmination of 6 years of technology and dealer and distributor interest in this particular business. And I think nothing typifies that kind of involvement and commitment as much as the booth we're standing next to here, which is a Luxor booth. As I understand it from Luxor, that this particular booth, it without a doubt is the biggest booth at the show. It's certainly the tallest booth at the show. And they tell me that if the roof hadn't been so low, they would have had antennas on top of the booth, notwithstanding the fact it's a two-story booth. And also that the fact that the booth cost over $150,000 to manufacture and takes 3 days to assemble. And when you think about the fact that the show is only 3 days long, 3 days to set it up, 3 days for the show, and 3 days to tear it back down again, that's quite a technological achievement just in displays and in booth systems.
My bet is it'll take less than 3 days to tear it down.
Yeah, right. A stick of dynamite does wonders.
It's interesting to think that $150,000, that's well more than the average person pays for their home.
Yes. and there's still, as a juxtaposition, there's still a significant number of booths and displays in this particular show that are single card table displays where someone is selling a product. So the entrepreneurs are still there, the mom and pop operations are still abounding with people trying to start a business. They have a new widget, a new mousetrap, and they are trying their best to compete, and they're finding their niches, and each one finds their little product niche that they can sell and do business with.
You know, for our viewers, you're really getting the feel of the show with the people walking in between us and the camera. This is the third day of the show, and we picked this on purpose because this is the slowest day. If it were Monday, you would see just a sea of humanity. It would be impossible to film. But even today, when the show is winding down and people are starting to get on buses and airplanes and head out of here, you still get the feeling of how many people are wandering around. Something that amazes me about the Luxor booth, this is an obvious symbol of commitment that Luxor's made to this industry.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, they're trying to say, hey, if we spent this much money for one show, you know that we're serious and here to stay.
Yeah, you don't throw the booth away after the first show. That's for darn sure. Their last booth, they managed to make it last 3 years, and so this booth, being it's mostly aluminum and high-grade plastic and steel, I imagine it's going to be around for a long time to come. And what do you do with the booth if you're not in this industry? You don't put cars in it, so I imagine it's going to be for the satellite industry.
Well, so, I really don't want this to sound like an ad for Luxor, but they really have done something very special here in the booth and the new product.
Right.
Why don't we walk over and have a look at this, and maybe you can show me how it works. I don't know.
Well, let's first make sure that we've got one that's got a battery in it.
Let him take a good look at that handheld remote, because it's probably the most complex one I've seen.
Well, this remote is a remote that they have used for their TV sets in Europe and their videotape machines, which they're very big on in Europe. And what they have done is adapt this remote over to the satellite receiver they've manufactured. And this is a brand new 9900. It's probably one of the most advanced receivers to be displayed at this show, and it's a brand new product. This is their first announcement of that product. This particular receiver has the power drive built into it, such that you have the satellite display G1 transponder 5, transponder 3.
I don't know if that will show well on the camera.
Yeah, but you have to trust my word for it. This displays the video and satellite channel. This is the audio system and a signal strength meter. And for during setup, we have all of the different setup modes that are identified here. The Dolby noise reductions, basic antenna east and west, polarity adjustments, scan modes, store modes, and auto test. Also, this receiver has audio amplifiers built into it. Luxor has announced the new set of speakers that go with their satellite receiver. So we have a audio amplifier, left and right channels, that you can drive directly with no stereo in between. To run the drive, we have to have the companion power drive, power supply right here. So this combination here represents the system. This is the power supply for the drive, and all the intelligence and microprocessor are built inside the receiver. That's also a quartz synthesized receiver, and fully programmable. You never have to worry about skew adjustment versus satellite. You don't have to worry about polarization ever again. Once it's set up, you select a particular satellite you want, the polarization is handled, it comes right up and run. It's getting to the point where, while this remote looks very complicated, there's only a very few buttons that you really have to deal with in order to make it do anything. If you're up to playing Captain Commander, you can run all the buttons and it does something, but if you want to make it very simple, it's simply a matter of you can increment and decrement the channels by just pushing a button either on the receiver itself or an equivalent up-down button on the remote control. Parental control is set up where you assign a parental control number to it, it locks out a channel, and you take the remote control away and you hide it or put it someplace where the kids can't get it. Then the kids can run it locally, but when they come up on the parental control locked out channel, it says PL on it, and they can't watch that channel, but they know.
I may be able to scoop you, I'm not sure. I think I know of a feature on this receiver that's unique, and I don't know if you're aware of it. It has a built-in terrestrial interference filter.
Yes, it does.
But what is special about that terrestrial interference filter?
All right, I'll bite. What's special about that terrestrial interference filter?
You can program it to cut in on only certain channels and certain satellites.
That's right, yeah.
For instance, if you got terrestrial interference on G1, say channel 5,
right?
Okay, but you don't have them on the rest of them. Well, you can program it so the terrestrial filter will only cut on in G1.5. And thus won't reduce the video quality on the other channels. Yeah, I believe that's unique in the industry.
That's the first time, and there is a button on the remote control that says TI, and you can turn the filters on and off any time that you want without having it being programmed as well.
Okay, this is a block receiver.
Yes.
And they do have what they sort of coined as a slave unit.
Their slave unit. Well, their slave unit is probably better than a lot of the top-of-the-line units that are on the market today. This particular receiver has all the features. As you can see, it's a manual receiver. There's no remote control. Polarity control, automatic fine-tuning. The channel is selected just with a detent tuning, a very nice signal strength meter. No stereo, nothing special about it, polarization skew, but it is the low-cost unit to the 9900. You put it up in the kids' room or in your extra bedroom, and it allows you to have a loop-through system so you could run the same IF. So it too is a whole new product they've just introduced at this show.
I'm definitely impressed with the Luxor booth. And to a company from Sweden, which is rather unusual to be heavily involved in the consumer electronics business, I really do think it shows a very strong commitment, and I think they should be commended.
Yeah, for a whole new product.
I certainly wish them all the best of the luck. Let's move on and look at some of the other booths and technology that are being displayed here today.
Okay. Okay, now we're up from the second level onto the second level of the show. The first level was the main hall. We're now on a smaller room where there are all kinds of more booths, and there's a third level above us. So the Luxor booth, the Coltronics booth was down on the main floor. This is our secondary floor where we've come up, and then we'll soon go up on the third floor of the show just to give you some idea of how big it is.
You know, unfortunately, the camera can't get back far enough to give our viewers an idea of the scope and how huge this show is. I don't even know how many square feet, but it's got to be in the hundreds of thousands of square feet.
We've overflowed. We've in fact overflowed on this particular show. We've stopped here, I think, on a very important booth. This is the Scientific Atlanta booth. Now, Scientific Atlanta might be new to a lot of our viewers and readers, but Scientific Atlanta is the biggie of the commercial systems, data, video. Anytime you go into a commercial uplink, commercial downlink, you're going to find Scientific Atlanta equipment. Scientific Atlanta, a number of years ago, looked at this market, tried to decide a best way to enter it. They chose Heathkit as their partner. They came in, they offered equipment back probably 3 years ago, and found the market really wasn't ready for their kind of marketing schemes, their kind of equipment, and they backed off. Now with this particular show, they've re-entered with what they call the HomeSat by Scientific Atlanta. The HomeSat is a perforated dish. It's a 9-foot dish. It is obviously built to commercial standards. I'll tell you that the dish is absolutely bulletproof. It's probably one of the most solid dishes we've ever seen in an industry, because they've taken a commercial dish and they've modified it to be a home market dish.
Is it significant, their entry, that the commercial people now realize that this industry has come of age, and that it's time for all the big guns to get in there and start battling for market share.
Right, right. Well, let's take a look at the receiver. I think that's part of the fun part of this little guy here is the antenna, as you might expect, is just one thing, but what the viewer, what the reader really is interested in is, well, what does their receiver do? Well, their particular receiver has infrared wireless remote control. It's a full function receiver. There at this moment is not a drive associated with it, but it has all other features. It's programmable audio, programmable video. It is a block receiver. They offer their own LNBs that go with it. It's a complete system. When you buy an SA HomeSat system, you get the antenna, the feed, the LNB, and the receiver. This receiver doesn't want for any particular feature whatsoever. And as you can see, if they'll pan over and take a look at it, it's a nice-looking, low-profile receiver. I think the receiver is right at the middle-price market for the home satellite system. It's not your high-tech, high bells and whistles product, nor is it your low-end product. It's aimed right at the median market, and I think that's a good entry point for Scientific Atlanta at this point.
I'm going to try and scoop you on a feature that this receiver has.
Oh, yes,
like it
go
did
ahead.
on the Luxor. It has a help button.
Yes, yes.
Why don't you explain to the viewers what the help button does?
The help button is if any time in programming this receiver or playing with the receiver, you become confused as to what it's really doing, you push the help button, it drops you back to a pre-programmed channel, video channel, and audio channel, and in fact, allows you to start over again. In other words, if you get all the audio bandwidths wrong, or you get the audio frequencies wrong, or you get the channel inverted incorrectly, you push that button and it resets to 0 and you start over again. That's just to bail you out in case you get into a problem. But the receiver is so simple to operate, I can't imagine anybody ever needing the help button.
You haven't seen me operate a receiver, obviously.
No, I haven't.
You mentioned something about there's not a drive associated with it, yet I'm looking at the antenna over there and I see a motor drive on it.
Yes.
Maybe we better get some help from somebody from SA.
Why don't you come on over here and clarify something for us?
It's okay. It's a real easy question.
Yeah, it's a real easy question. Well, you're already...
You're doing fine. Don't worry about it.
I made a rather sweeping statement. There was no drive associated with this, but obviously there must be a drive associated with it. Does this particular product have a drive associated?
That's true.
And it's a separate power supply?
That's true.
Okay.
How is it, a programmable drive or just an east-west manual drive?
It's an east-west manual.
Okay.
Okay.
It's non-programmable.
Non-programmable, and it has a separate power supply, and that's controllable from remote control?
That's true.
Okay. So it's simple operation. All right.
Bruce Linton
from
SA.
Scientific Atlanta
Right.
keeps us straight all the time.
You
Thank you very
bailed us
much.
out. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think we've spent enough time and occupied this booth long enough. Let's take
the only other thing I wanted to mention, they have both a perforated antenna and a
solid
version,
antenna, right? And you ought to see the mount that they put that antenna on. It is truly a marvelous mount from the standpoint of bulletproof and pure mass. It's quite a system. So let's go take a look at the Hughes booth.
That's interesting.
Yes,
Hughes Communications coming up. This way.
All right. I'll take that and
You got
walk
the
with
mic?
you. Right. Well, here we're in the Hughes Communications booth, which is kind of interesting booth. You first ask your question, what are they selling? Well, first off, they're not producing a receiver or an antenna.
Wait a minute. My question is, what are they doing here? I mean, these are the people who build the most powerful domestic satellites in the sky. I mean, $100 million pieces of incredible technology. I don't think there's any buyers for satellites here at the show, are there?
No, not hardly. Not when you're looking at $27 million for Galaxy 1. And they brought you Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2, Galaxy 3, Westars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and soon to be 6 if they can resurrect it.
Do you have a cheat sheet, or are you doing that from memory?
All of the LeeSats 1 through 4 that are being used by the Navy. So, and frankly, if you were to look at the satellite arc, you would find out that, in fact, almost 90% of the satellites that are in orbit are manufactured by Hughes Communications. Hughes' purpose in this show is very simple. They are producing KU-band satellites now, and they feel that there is a very definite market out there for direct broadcast systems, whether it be C-band or KU-band. And they're here to tell the world that they want to endorse this industry. They think it's an industry that can survive, and they want us to know that they're friendly to us. And frankly, Galaxy 1, it's still possible for them to bundle software off of Galaxy 1 to offer a DBS on Galaxy 1.
You know, there's
C-band.
some beautiful signs and illustrations on the backdrop here, and most of them appear to be KU-band satellites.
Yes. Well, they talk about the difference between the fixed service, satellite service, and direct broadcast satellite services for KU band. They're talking about adjacent satellite interference, both C-band and KU-band. They're making a pretty strong pitch for KU-band, but they are obviously involved in the C-band system. But I think it's a very, if you will, legitimizing of the market to have Hughes Communications buy what looks to me like about, I'd say 4 booths worth of a STTI space show, and come here to talk to our people, to hear their complaints, to explain what it is Hughes is doing and how they can help us in our marketing and our market area.
We got Scientific Atlanta, we got Hughes,
Biggie.
2 heavyweights who are making
Very
their presence
big.
felt in this industry.
Absolutely.
I think we've come of age, Mike.
Oh yes, very definitely. We've arrived.
Let us go and see if we can look at perhaps a couple of the smaller exhibitors here.
Okay.
And see what kind of products they've
All right,
got.
I'm all for that. Let's go.
We're going
over
to
here.
go that way, yeah.
That, of course, is not the entire tour Mike and Chris will give us. They'll continue their look at the Nashville show next week. Thank you very much, Mike and Chris, for that nice tour. Besides the exhibits at the show, the Nashville show also had its share of politicians in attendance. Senator Albert Gore of Tennessee made a big announcement on board the showboat, the General Jackson. He said he would introduce a bill in the Senate that calls for fair marketing negotiations for programming for satellite TV and for unfair programming plans to be appealed to the FCC.
I will introduce legislation to require that no programmer may engage in any plan to distribute scrambled satellite television programming which is discriminatory or anti-competitive in any way. In other words, they can scramble, but they have got to negotiate fairly with all segments of the distribution industry. And the bill will allow any party who believes that he has been dealt with unfairly, particularly by one of these vertically integrated combination companies, to petition the Federal Communications Commission for relief. And I wanted to announce here this evening that I am going to introduce that bill, and it will become the focus of additional criticism.
Representative Jim Wright of Texas is also another powerful politician. He's the U.S. House of Representatives Majority Leader who is expected to become the next Speaker of the House. This was the first satellite show he's ever attended, and he's just beginning to realize the beauty of home satellite TV, which he told a crowd at a rally.
What a wonderful thing I've thought. If we could have a kind of an electronics age Peace Corps. If we could establish these saucers, these dishes, these receiving stations in every village and remote hamlet in Central America and the Caribbean, so that those young people, doomed for so many centuries to want and deprivation, illiteracy, might come and there at that place, beamed in their language, learn how to read and write, and learn the rudimentary rules of health, and how to stay well. And maybe America could contribute something positive and strong, and once again be the beacon of hope and inspiration to people all over the earth. Here's a means by which we could do it.
We have so much more to tell you about what the political types at the show said. We'll tell you more of that next week, including we'll tell you what Senator Barry Goldwater has been doing in the communications area lately. On tonight's Satellite Showtime, however, coming right up, we'll tell you who the winner was in our Satellite Showtime giveaway 2 weeks ago. Stay tuned.
Are you confused about satellite programming guides? Are you tired of monthly inaccurate guides that are big and bulky and about as much fun to use as a city phone book? How about tabloids with hard-to-read print, incomplete movie listings that are about as easy to use as a road map? Or newspaper guides with confusing grids that fall apart in your hands? There is an alternative. Onset, the easy-to-read, easy-to-use weekly programming guide with more movies and sports. Best of all, Onset is only $39. That's right, 52 issues for only $39. But don't take our word for it. We'll send you a free copy of Onset, and you can judge for yourself. And if you're a dealer, ask about our dealer program. Make your customers happy and make money. Call Onset now. Toll free 1-800-438-2020 or write Onset, Box 2347, Shelby, North Carolina, 28150. Onset, you've seen the rest. Now try the best.
The Trans 10 by Coltronics. This eye-appealing transparent antenna has passed the stringent test of the McDonnell Douglas Corporation. It's approved for 2-degree spacing. In the words of McDonnell Douglas, the performance of the Trans 10 is equal to or greater than that of other antennas of similar size and construction. Not only does the Trans 10 perform, it's also covered by a 5-year limited warranty, and it's easy to look at. Its baked acrylic thermoset black finish gives it a low luster appeal. Yes, the Trans 10 is also built for strength. The patented rib design assures maximum reflector signal and better retention of panels in high wind areas. Independent tests have indicated that the Trans 10 will withstand wind velocities up to 90 miles per hour. The Trans 10 by Coltronics, high in performance and strength, UPS shippable anywhere in the United States. An antenna for every season.
Now some Satellite Showtime updates. 2 weeks ago, we did a viewership survey to find out where you were watching our show, from what parts of our country and other countries. Without going into detail, I'll tell you now, we heard from most of the 50 contiguous states and also most of the Canadian provinces, so we thank you so much for your phone calls. And now we're happy to tell you the winner of the $100 savings bond we gave away as part of that survey. The winner is Esther Ellis of Springfield, Missouri. Congratulations, Esther. And now here's a tape-recorded message from her. What did it feel like when you found out you were the winner of the savings bond?
It was exciting. I couldn't believe I won.
Could you tell me a little bit about how long you've had your home satellite system?
We've had it for less than a year. We got it in December last year.
How do you like it so far?
We really like it a lot. We use it quite a bit. We moved from city to from cable TV out into the country, and first thing we bought when we bought our new house was a satellite.
Congratulations, Esther, on winning the savings bond. You see, people really do win on Satellite Showtime. Now back to what went on in Nashville. There was a discussion, but one could have called it a debate, featuring space attorney Rick Brown and the attorney for the Community Antenna Television Association, Steve Efros. Although these two men are on opposite sides of the fence now, Brown for satellite TV and Efros for cable, they were once fellow students and law associates.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I am absolutely delighted that this is going to take place. We are going to have what I'd rather call a discussion than a debate. Steve Efros is a very talented man that I have known for a number of years. In fact, you'll be amazed at how close our lives have been and how divergent they now are, or at least how they appear to be. And we both wound up working in the same division of the FCC, and it was a newly formed bureau called the Cable Television Bureau. And it was set up in the late 1960s to regulate cable television. As it turned out, Steve and I both wrote all the federal regulations that deal with cable television. I then left the FCC, went into practice, and then after that started my own law firm. And 2 years later, Steve left the FCC, and if you can't guess, joined my law firm, and we practiced together as partners for a number of years. One of our clients was the Community Antenna Television Association. We represented that organ council. Later, left firm, General Association.
The intention, as was stated earlier, is to educate. We clearly have some differences of opinion. They are opinions. Every lawyer, some lawyers have more than one on the subject at a time to pay them. This started a few months ago when I invited Rick to the KTI industry. I represent a portion of that industry. And it is a portion primarily that focuses on the smaller systems around the country, the more rural areas of the country, and consequently, my operators are the ones who are affected directly and most immediately by the installation of earth terminals around the country. So, first, from our perspective, you have to understand we do not oppose earth terminals, and we do not oppose home earth terminals. As a matter of fact, KTI was the organization, and I was the drafter of the documents that legalized small earth terminals before the FCC. Prior to 1976, it was not legal to have an earth terminal of under 10 meters. And we were the ones that fought and won that, and Mr. Cooper, who is running around here wildly, at the time called me the Ralph Nader of the TVRO industry. I think he'd not call me that today, but he's called me lots of other things too, so I suppose that's normal. What we're concerned about primarily in the earth terminal business is not that it exists. There are a lot of cable operators who are as involved as you are in the selling of small earth terminals in and around their market areas who can't receive cable television. What we're concerned about is that the programming that has been developed on the satellites has been developed through a market structure. And that market structure is about the only way that has been found to pay for the cost of the programming that Taylor Howard just referred to. You know, he mentioned that programming costs money, and he doesn't want to see Casablanca anymore, want to see more movies or more of this or more of that. Well, what you have to understand is that the market structure of developing that new programming, which did not exist before cable television, is that a cable operator not pay just for the people who want to watch the programming. The cable operator pays for all of the people on the system so that a given small percentage can watch this type of specialized programming and a given small percentage can watch that specialized programming the other. If the market had been developing a different way, if it had developed in a way that said everybody only pays for the programming that they want to watch, the market would not and did not develop. Consequently, the cable industry has designed, and the programmers have designed, a marketing structure that spreads that cost out. It's very much like a newspaper. If you were a magazine or a news publisher and all you wanted to produce were the financial pages or only the sports pages, you couldn't get enough people to buy that newspaper to stay in business. That's why there are virtually none of those types of specialized newspapers, daily newspapers, in existence today, with the exception of the daily racing form. Well, you know, we all have our priorities. So they put them all together, and they charged a price for the product. And while I don't read the sports page, I read the business page. And while someone else might not read the business page, they read the style page, and so on. Cable television has basically done the same thing with video programming. Now, the earth terminal industry comes along and it says, okay, we want to view only what we want to view. And there is some reticence even to pay for that viewing, although Space has said that the programmers should be allowed to get paid. I think that's very nice of them. But in order to view and pay on an a la carte basis, only what you want to pay for and only what you want to view, the price necessarily has to be commensurate with the cost of producing the programming on an a la carte basis. Nobody seems to be willing to acknowledge that fact yet. And I know you've heard a lot of discussion about administrative costs. And you may have even thought that that argument about administrative costs was just created to stop the home earth terminal business. Not true. The administrative cost factor has been one that has been applied against the small cable television operator for the last several years. A cable operator, and by the way an SMA TV operator, is required to pay ESPN a minimum of $100 per month, regardless of how many people watch it. Now, if you take that same Nielsen statistic, it's actually about 1.2%, but we're going to call it 10%. You take that same Nielsen statistic, and you say, I'm paying $100 a month for this signal so that my 100 cable subscribers can watch it, and I know that only 10% of them really do watch it and are really interested. That means I'm paying $10 per subscriber per month, or $120 per year. So you may hear a lot of ads, and you may see the ads, and there's lots of rhetoric, and Rick and I are great at that, and designing ads and throwing numbers around and having a great time. And unfortunately, some congressmen and senators are taking those numbers, 1,000% increase and so on, and thinking that that number is inviolate. But if you actually do the numbers, you'll find that if we ever went to rate regulation and you were compared with a small cable operator, the home terminal user would wind up having to pay more per signal, not less per signal. You know, you got to look at comparisons. CNN is saying $25 a year for 24 hours of news, 2 channels. Time magazine costs me $1.12 a week in the home, $1.95 if I go to the newsstand. Sports Illustrated costs me $54 a year. That's once a week we're getting a sports magazine as opposed to 24 hours a day of a sports channel. All right? I mean, you can go down and take any other example you want.
Steve, what I heard you just say is basically this. You want to tell the programmers how much they should charge our industry for programming. I think that's unconscionable.
I don't think I've said that.
Well, let me do mine, and then you can do yours.
They gave me a dead mic so that this would work.
They don't have it all. We're different. We built a better mousetrap. We don't have to buy all the programming. We can watch what we want to watch, and that's our birthright because we invented it. That's what we need to do. We need programmers to make their own judgment of whether they want to scramble or not scramble the signals. I think, again, that it is unconscionable that the cable operators, that CATA should pass a resolution that all the basic programmers should scramble their signals. That's what they want them to do. That's what the NCTA wants. That's not what we did. We said programmers are entitled to be compensated. They can be compensated in many ways. They can be compensated by advertising revenues. They can be compensated by scrambling their signals. They can be compensated in other ways that might yet be invented. We're not saying that we're not willing to pay. We're saying that there ought to be a decision made by each programmer as to what is in that programmer's best interest to scramble or not scramble. If you deal with somebody in such a way they can never cut a deal. What does HBO, so to speak, come out of the box with? They come out of the box with a program that says you can buy HBO for $12.95 by calling an 800 number. But if you live in a cable area and you've bought your Earth station because you don't want to subscribe to cable, you have to buy the HBO programming from your friendly cable TV operator. Now let's use our imaginations. If your programming is distributed not through the cable pipeline, we don't mind if it goes through the cable pipeline as long as it goes through other pipelines as well. We would like to see a situation where home box office, movie channel, anybody that scrambles, CNN will sell at wholesale prices to others other than cable operators. Steve says it costs us more to be in business. Therefore, they ought to charge you more. It doesn't matter. That's the way competition works. We don't have the setting of prices by competitors. We want a free and open marketplace. That is the only way that Earth stations and cable can coexist peacefully. We want your members to sell Earth stations. That's fine with us. But what we don't want is for when we sell an Earth station to have to get the programming for our consumer through a cable television operator. I think it's disgraceful. I think that the reasons that we have asked for these kinds of legislations to be introduced are manifest. We see it every day as people that are selling our stations. We see companies coming out and saying that our product is worth 1,000% more, 1,000% more to a home earth station owner than it is when it's sold to a cable operator. I don't think that's fair. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? Well, I got to tell you, I don't think ESPN and CNN really mean to be bad guys. I really don't think so.
The Brown-Efros discussion wasn't the only one that went on in Nashville. Media panels discussed the issues of technology and marketing, zoning, and scrambling. Satellite TV veteran Bob Cooper summarized the scrambling scenario as he sees it.
Oh, I would just simply like you to accept the reality that there are no answers, and that you will hear every week or every other week, depending upon how often you pick up the media publications or how often you tune in the Nova program or Borside, you'll hear the latest rumors and the latest prospects and the latest proposals, and you will know when it's all over, because then 2 or 3 weeks will go by and you won't read about it or you won't hear about it anymore. That's when it'll be all over. There are no answers. You'll hear dates when so-and-so is planning to do it, and you'll hear fees and you'll hear schedules. My personal belief on the subject of scrambling is summed up very simply. Without legislation, we will, 1, not have access at fair rates to the cable programming, and 2, we probably won't have access through our own industry. It's just that simple. It does not serve the cable industry's best interests for us to have rates equal to them, heaven forbid less, and it does not serve their best interest for us to be selling those services through our dealers. And the only way around that, gentlemen and ladies, is legislation.
Coming up on Satellite Showtime, the Calltronics video newsletter with Joe Kelch.
The Luxor Mark II, a new generation of electronic excellence. The Mark II is a block satellite receiver system. It offers independent channel selection for multiple TV sets from a single antenna. In the home, for neighbors to share, in hotels, apartment, offices, and for licensed SMA TV redistribution to the entire community. The Mark II by Luxor does it all. You receive the best signal, the highest possible performance with Dolby high-fidelity sound. Other features include the individually programmed audio, AFC automatic fine-tuning controls, all on the 24 programmable channels. An infrared handheld remote will give complete control over the channel selection on any satellite. It's all so easy with Luxor Mark II. See it and then enjoy it. The Mark II does it all.
From Nashville, Joe Kelch and the video newsletter by Calltronics. Well, at Nashville, it's all big, busy, and beautiful for the past 4 days. One of the beautiful things that happened was the Luxor news conference regarding a new product line.
Why are we here today? Well, we are here today because it is my firm belief that once again, Luxor is one step ahead. This is a new milestone for the satellite industry. With a systems approach and with an entirely new line of products and with a very deep consumer campaign, I think that we show evidence of the longevity of our corporation. We all know that this industry is currently facing some problems, commercially and politically. I am in the happy shows of representing a corporation that is not product specific. Our corporation, with its 33,000 employees, represent a diversity not only of electronics but also in other industrial applications. And I'm very happy that we have the muscle and the ability to see through the current short-term difficulties and will come out shining and bright. Today, Luxor is a full system house. And out there in the field, Luxor can create an authorized situation for dealers, because we can today have a situation where dealers can say, I'm carrying Luxor, and Luxor is the system he's carrying. Luxor is no longer a component. I would like this time to have Steve Montgomery come up.
Antenna control block receiver is our high-end line 9900. The key to it is the handheld remote. In your press packets, there's a picture of the handheld remote itself. And the key to the handheld remote is a simple 6-page operating guide. This is not the owner's manual. The owner's manual has all the installation instructions, any additional information as well. This is a simplified guide allowing the consumer to be able to use his receiver without any instruction from a dealer or installer. It's that simple.
Also new at Luxor was a brand new and beautiful show display. One of the smash events of the entire show was the Luxor hosting of the Country Music Fest and Minnie Pearl.
My brother and his buddy was hauling hay from up in Kentucky. They was paying $5 a bale for the hay in Kentucky and selling it for $5 a bale in Grinder's Switch. The old boy that brother's in business with said, we ain't making no money. Brother said, maybe we need a bigger truck. He's smart. My brother is smart. I went down to the barn the other afternoon, and my brother had bought a new mule, and he's trying to get the mule in the barn, and he couldn't get the mule in the barn because the barn door was too low to get the mule's ears in the barn. So brother had a saw and was sawing off the top of the barn door to get the mule in that had the long ears. So I come down there and I said, well, it's a dirt floor. Why don't you just dig a trench and take the mule in that way? Brother said, it ain't his legs that's too long, it's his ears. Oh, he's smart.
As usual at the show, the KTI products were so very well received, including the new Trans 6 and the Trans 8, as well as the Trans 10, the 12, and the 18 rib, and also the full line of Nova stainless steel antennas.
The Trans 10 12 rib design by Caltronics. This beautifully designed and crafted transparent antenna setting the industry on its ear. With the latest in antenna technology, the Trans 12 rib has strength, accuracy, and beauty at a price you won't believe until you experience the quality and savings yourself. Baked acrylic, thermoset black finish, super strength rib, hub, and rim. Caltronics means quality, and the Trans 10 12 rib lives up to the Caltronic tradition.
The Trans 10 by Caltronics. This eye-appealing transparent antenna has passed the stringent test of the McDonnell Douglas Corporation. It's approved for 2-degree spacing. In the words of McDonnell Douglas, the performance of the Trans 10 is equal to or greater than that of other antennas of similar size and construction. Not only does the Trans 10 perform, it's also covered by a 5-year limited warranty, and it's easy to look at. Its baked acrylic thermoset black finish gives it a low luster appeal. Yes, the Trans 10 is also built for strength. The patented rib design assures maximum reflector signal and better retention of panels in high wind areas. Independent tests have indicated that the Trans 10 will withstand wind velocities up to 90 miles per hour. The Trans 10 by Caltronics, high in performance and strength, UPS shippable anywhere in the United States, an antenna for every season.
Here's the answer to your satellite cable needs. Caltronics Dual RG6 1500 megahertz sweep tested all-in-one satellite cable. Direct burial, sunlight resistant, and UL approved. Wraparound feature allows for easy entry through walls. Simply peel back wires for different electronic hookup. Meets any and all installation codes. This all-in-one satellite cable from Calltronics. Call for pricing. Quantity discounts available for immediate shipping. Phone 1-800-826-CALL, K-A-U-L, or in Wisconsin, call 1-800-826-NOVA, N-O-V-A.
It was a great show here at Nashville with many great interviews, and here's one of them. Bo Lindqvist is R&D head at Luxor. We figured he'd be a very good interviewee because he's right from Sweden. He comes back here periodically. What's your impression of the show?
Well, it's a great show. It has been a very interesting show. It's a very big show this year. I think one of the biggest that has been in the industry that I have visited so far. And it's very interesting, a lot of new products displayed. And I think we have made a very good job here on the show also, showing our new generation of equipment.
And you're in the R&D, you're always thinking of new refinements and new products.
Oh yes, we are working a few years ahead.
Yes.
We're trying to
do you attend shows in Europe at all?
I beg your pardon?
Do you attend any of the shows in Europe?
Yes, I came, just when I came here to Nashville, I came by another big show in Berlin. That's the biggest in the year in Funkausstellung. I came directly from there.
Okay. How are the shows there? Do they differ in any way from the shows here?
Well, for the satellite shows, of course, the satellite market is much bigger in the United States than in Europe. It's just taking off in Europe. So this specialized shows in satellite, we have some of them, but they are not at all that big.
Is it all KU band?
It's all KU band in Europe. There are some on C band, but that's not very important.
Mm-hmm.
It's KU band.
Well, we wish you a lot of success, Bo.
Thank you.
Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you very much.
Bo Lindqvist, Luxor. Well, from Nashville, that's all for this week. We'll be back next week on Satellite Showtime and the video newsletter.
That's all for this evening's Satellite Showtime, brought to you by our fine corporate sponsors, including Luxor North America and Calltronics Incorporated. If you think you've seen all of what happened at Nashville, you are wrong. There's plenty more to show you. It was a huge show with a record attendance of 15,000 people, the largest trade show in Nashville history. Be sure to catch our program next week, and you'll find out about the following: what Senator Barry Goldwater is doing in the area of satellite communications, the biggest concern of a married couple on the Space Dealer Board, and comments from our neighbors to the north, the Canadians. That's next week. For another look at our industry, you can tune into Boresight. That is a program that's on Thursday nights on Satcom 4 Transponder 20, and they'll be telling you more about their perspective on the Nashville show. And that's Boresight Thursday nights. Until next week's Satellite Showtime, good night.